Hey everyone, what's going on? Greg here again from Team Blast. I want to talk about keyword fluctuations within local SEO and why that's completely normal and kind of how I think about it for both my clients and also for my business. So the keyword here is residential locksmith near me, where my client started before was under 10%. Then we had some initial growth. It kind of stayed stagnant, then it dropped, and now it's growing again. They're actually now at 24% share of local voice. So that's great. But rankings will always change, and that's what this video is about, to kind of explain why they change and things that you should be looking at for your business. So reasons why rankings change, just to kind of start, Google has updates all the time. They're always testing different formats, layouts. They're testing different competitors in the top three to see what yields the best click and the best user experience. There's always A/B tests they're running. So when you use Local Falcon or any other third-party tool to track your results, again, it could be up against a quick test that they're running, and it might change the results a little bit. Next, competitors is a major reason why rankings change. So for example, you might be a locksmith, and then there could be 5 new locksmith businesses that open up in your area that month, and then that's going to actually probably negatively impact your rankings because Google's going to potentially test some of them in the results, but also existing businesses too. Maybe they're getting on more local directories, maybe they're getting featured in newsletters, maybe they're doing social media boosts, etc. These are things that might actually impact your business directly. Next is, again, with competitors, they might be keyword stuff in their name. So for a locksmith, maybe the company's name is Peter's Locksmith, but then they change their name to Peter's Locksmith hyphen mobile locksmith hyphen locksmith near me hyphen commercial locksmith. So all of a sudden now there's all these keywords added to their name. Maybe they're ranking a little bit better for some of those terms because the name is a major ranking signal. Therefore, either Google might change it, a competitor might change it as a suggestion. You might have to suggest it because ultimately it might be impacting your business. There's other things too that they could be doing, but the keyword stuffing is usually the main reason. Next is changes you make. So hypothetically, you might go all in on residential locksmith. You're adding that to your description, your products, your services, your updates. That can improve your rankings. However, maybe you keyword stuff it like crazy within your description. It's unnatural. Google looks at it and says, this looks kind of spammy. We're going to drop your rankings. Next, location does matter, and so does relevancy too. So I mentioned this before. Physical addresses always beat a service area business. So if hypothetically a competitor might go from a service area now to a physical location, that can change your rank because now they have a relevant drop point that they can put onto the map. Again, that's going to impact your rankings. And of course, there's more. There's so many things that are taking place on a really like daily basis, but even more just all throughout the day for things you should be aware of. So it's always hard to always know what the reason is. Anyway, example search term explained. So this is the keyword residential locksmith near me. This is one of my clients where they started was below 10% of a share of local voice. Today they're up at 24%. So we've definitely improved from where they were before. They are the blue line. This is a very messy view and it's very hard to read. So what I always do for my clients is that I track everything within Excel and I do an aggregate view. So what I do is every time I run the scan, I then put in their share of local voice and then I do the average month rank. So for residential locksmith, they went from 4.96 way back in December to now 15.7% in September. So we've really improved that share of local voice. We're getting more dots flipped onto page one. That's why they're getting more qualified leads for their business. Same thing with residential locksmith near me went from 13.64%, but then it really dropped to 6.61 in April. But now we're at 21.05%. So again, we're growing there. That's good. Rankings will change all the time. And I think it's important to kind of keep tracking that. See, okay, here's the growth. Here's the dip. What are we doing now to get back? So one more thing, even for my business, TM Blast, I'll track the keyword SEO and I do the same thought process. So I'm the blue line over here. My rankings were very strong to start off 2025, but then they dropped. Some competitors came in, some new businesses. I noticed some companies had physical addresses now. Some were keyword stuffing, some were adding different secondary categories. A lot of things were changing too. But when I notice a trend like this, and okay, things are dropping, I do the same thought process. So I look at the competitor report. I look at changes that I can make on my Google business profile. I look for entities that I can get on, and then actually help me kind of rebound that share of local voice back to where I originally was. So everything I'm kind of preaching to you guys on this video, but also to my clients as well, it's also in practice with what I do with TM Blast. So how to handle this? First step, I recommend aggregate view. So do that within Excel. Every time you run a local Falcon scan, take the aggregate ranking and then average it out for the month. I think it's a much better view to see how you're doing. I wish Local Falcon had that. They only have daily scans. I think the monthly view would be pretty easy to see how much progress you're doing. Next, run the scans for only your core and secondary terms. So for example, maybe my keyword is locksmith and locksmith near me and locksmith. Let's just pretend it's Austin, Texas. I wouldn't recommend running more variations of like best locksmith and top locksmith and affordable locksmith, and then you start adding the city modifier to it. I think that's too many scans. It's analysis paralysis. You're spending too much time trying to figure out, hey, why did this one keyword change? Should I have plural? Should I have singular? Keep the core terms as the focus. Track them with an aggregate view within Excel. I think that'd be a much easier way to understand how things are going. Next, you can actually use local Falcon Guard to keep an eye on your competitors. So again, any new reviews they're getting, photos they're updating, name changes, updates, etc. This is a great way to keep an eye on your competitors, and anything they might change, you want to keep an eye on that. And then finally, keep running local Falcon scans and change the distance. Change it to get more granular, rinse and repeat. So really what I'm trying to explain here is that if your radius, let's say, is 5 miles and you're doing a 9x9 grid and you're like, okay, I want to expand this to 10 miles, and you do that, but you can't really get past that 5-mile scan, I recommend changing the 9x9 grid to something like 13x13, get very granular within the 5-mile scan and look for more areas that you can kind of flip. Maybe there's some more towns or neighborhoods that you might be overlooking that are worth flipping for you to get more impressions, better rankings, and get more leads too. But this is kind of it in summary. I think this view is pretty much what others will see. You'll see rankings go up and then they'll drop or they'll stabilize. It's all normal, but I think the aggregate view is the best way to go forward with this. And then I think if you notice they drop for an extended amount of time, it's kind of the steps I mentioned before. Look at your competitors and look for things you can do on your Google business profile to regain your rankings. Anyway, thanks for watching this video and stay tuned for the next one.